do it. Didn't want to do it. And she sort of got tacky with me and said, well, I don't know, see why. And I said, well, Mickey, I said, just too dang many things in my life. It's just not worth telling. And she said that made me what somebody else think. But
well,
Mickey,
I just saw the picture of the Corregidor mustard just right there. That's the fact that you were
Mickey
there.
and I have come a long ways, and very few people have done what Freddie Wolters has done without nothing. I was born in the Depression time,
Right.
and caught a school bus and joined Denton High School in the 9th grade and never went to the 8th grade. And the only way that saved me was that as soon as I got there, the football coach got after me about playing football, and long story short on that. So I lettered in freshman football and freshman track. And then time comes, Calhoun kept saying, Freddie, I need your credits, I need your credits. Well, I didn't have any credits. So he boiled down, he just told Mr. Patterson that he said, Freddie wants to go to A&M to be an ag teacher, and said, I'm going to give him the credits. Well, I got the transcript, it shows credit.
Right.
So I came to A&M, and I played football and ran track.
What year was that?
That was when the next year after they had the national champion. 1940.
1940 is when you came?
Yeah, right
Okay.
after the
after the 39 national champions.
after the national champions. And
Right.
the reason I didn't come before is when I had to have a little operation because of then I stayed out and delivered milk 11 months in Highland Park or the Mesker's Dairy, and that's another long story. But anyway, we got after we got out at A&M. Well, then Leo Day Jones and I was shipped to the 11th Armored Division to join the 11th Armored Division, and after all the hub, and when we got out there, it was cold and nasty and bad, and I had skin problems, and I never did tell them that I didn't guess, but I had a tank outfit, and a whole bunch of Aggies was in that thing, and I had a tank, and we had the highest grade of any deal. So when it come time to ship out to go to Europe to fight the Germans, I was cut back. And I went into the colonel and I said, tell me what in the world happened, why I'm not going. She said, Lieutenant Wolters, you're the first person I ever heard of complaining about not going overseas. And I said, well, look, a hell of lots of my classmates at A&M are right out there. They're going, and some of them not coming back. He said, well, I did. Now, you recall at that time, the United States was collecting all the Japanese in the concentration camps.
Right.
Well, Walter's name, if you go to Germany, you'll find it's one hell of an important name. They got brewers all over that place and ultra rich, so when that Walter's name stood up, first thing they said, well, we don't want him over there.
Right.
They didn't look back and see that Freddie was half German. My mother was a long-time Baptist, thank God, and so...
Because your spelling of the name is a German spelling, right?
Sir?
The way you spell the name is a German spelling, right?
Yeah, it was
W-O-L.
It's a German name,
right.
W-O, and I still do it right now, and every time I talk to somebody, I have to correct them. They'll always want to put it W-A.
Right.
And so we ended up then going to the 11th Armored Division, and then they shipped out, and I didn't ship out, and we were kicked around, and God knows all different places, and of course all the time during OCS and this, that, the other, trying to graduate. Well, I did various things happen, but then we went to Seattle, and we was and got on a boat to go overseas, and we was going to Hawaii to start with. And we had boats. You've never seen so many damn boats. And I got seasick. And I did get, and I had on the boat, they had 400 black soldiers with 2 buck sergeants, that's 2 3-stripers, 2 buck sergeants, all they had over them. And because I was from Texas, the old colonel that I didn't even know, he called me in and said, well, said, being you from Texas, I'm going to put you in charge of those boys to see if they get in and out, do everything. Well, we wasn't out 2 days till the seam broke in the front end of that boat, split. Water got about this deep around and floating around. Of course, they got that fixed all right, but that didn't satisfy the black boys. They were down there and they was out and they were seasick and I was seasick and they come out and they like a bunch of rats. They didn't want to go back in. So I went in to talk to the colonel about it, and I told him, I said, I'm here because my men are seasick and I'm seasick. He said, he made this mistake. He said, Lieutenant Wolters says seasickness is fear.
In your head.
And I said, sir, I want to tell you something. I said, I've got some black soldiers, they're seasick and I'm seasick, and we're damn sure ready to jump overboard. And if you get real seasick, you just soon to commit suicide. It's terrible.
Right.
Now, the other thing back for to tell you that you made a mistake by saying fear. I want you to understand that I'm not scared of a damn person on earth. And you're one of them. Because I just want to let you know how we stand. He looked up at me and said, Lieutenant Wolters, I believe you're serious. I said, yes, sir, I am damn serious. Well, he said, I'll give you 6 men, but you still got to stay over. You got to boss those 6 men. So he gave me 6 lieutenants to get that. So when we got overseas, got over to Hawaii where we landed, all the word got around it. Freddie Wolters was about dead, you know, and my survey crew was sitting there waiting on me. And they were so happy they thought that I was really going to die, you know. And so anyway, but when we left, I will get around the other story now, why I had such a damn bad reputation. After spending in Hawaii all that time, we left to go to Europe. I mean, Hawaii or all parts
Japan.
And the Navy on Hawaii had the boats all loaded and everything, and we had another new colonel, and he called me in and he said, and Lieutenant Booker, and he said, I'm understanding if we want something done, call on you two. And he said, now we got 50, and of course I was thinking about getting on that damn, everybody said, Freddie, you're going to just die with, you know, seasick on that thing boat. And he said, I want you to get on, go down there and I take your gear. And I said, sir, I've never even, I don't even know where it is, you know. He said, oh, you find where it is. Said, we got 50 armored trailers sitting up there that the Navy didn't load. Now, you can put everybody to work that you want to, other than me, but to do what, I said, oh, no, we don't need that. I got my crew and we got the motor section, we'll manage. So we went down there, and the first place we stopped at the guard section, and I said to him, I said, tell me where the man that would be equivalent to a first sergeant, a mean first sergeant in the Army. He said, he's right down yonder, and said he is a salty son of a gun. So we went down there, and I told him what my problem was. He lit in on me right quick. He said, Lordy mercy, what you think you're going to do? Hell, those damn boats get loose, on the only place we can put them up top, and if they get loose, they kill everybody. I said, wait just a damn minute. Who made the mistake? You or us? They're your business to put the damn things on there. Now it's my business to get with you to get them up on there. And all we want you to do is you put them up there. You get somebody to show us how to use the chains and this and that and the other. And so how we chain them down. And I said, we'll tag it when they've been inspected, and then we'll tag it and say it's your responsibility. And I said, that's how we're going to handle it. And I said, we just want you to give us, so you can imagine what a chain and a boomer laid up on a ship, rusty. And so in those days we had some old coverall type clothes we could wear if we had to. So Sam and I got right in there with them, working right with them. And that was late in the afternoon. They worked all that afternoon, all the next day, and then up into the early part of the evening to get it all done. And when we got it all done, well then wasn't nothing clean on us but our eyeballs. And so when they started loading everything, well they was all nice and clean, and wasn't but just a little bit. We met the colonel that assigned us to do this job, and he met us and he shook our hands. He said, I want to congratulate you. I've never so proud of anybody in my life. And I said, sir, I'm damn mad. He said, what's the matter? I said, I met Major Kane coming in right there, and he gave us hell for not being presentable. The officers supposed to stay clean and this, that, and the other. He said, you go and both of you get some sleep, get some rest. Of course, in those days, you had on the ship nice quarters, no question about that. Officers off care. So you get some sleep and you throw it, and whenever you get out, the minute you get out, you come to my room. When I come to my room, he called Major Kane in and dressed his butt down. And Major Kane said, sir, I didn't know. He said, that's all right. You didn't know, but I just want you to apologize to these boys because they did a whale of a job. Well, now, that was the first thing you take out. Well, the next day, the Navy has tons of food. And when they get to where they're going, if they don't need it, they dump it overboard so they can get a new supply of whatnot. So the next day I talked to the colonel. I said, I tell you what we do. We sure would like to have our men do the cooking. And said, all we need is somebody to show them how to use the equipment and whatnot. And of course, sure enough, the first day one of the boys cut a finger off right here, and then when we got through, I didn't ask somebody could we do that. I just went in. That typical my way of operating. I could. So when we got through, the ship commander called all of them together, whole crew. He said, I want all of you to know, I have never eaten so well in my life on a ship as I have, and it's all responsible for Lieutenant Booker and Lieutenant Wolters' men seeing that you had the cooks and everything to do it with. Well, all that just built up things that you get slapped in the face with. So what I'm trying to say to you, as you go along, you end up saying, well, what we were wanting to fight the Germans, to stop the Germans.
Right.
That was first. And when Hitler stopped, by then everybody began to turn around, and some folks from there was heading to Europe, heading to the Philippines,
right,
to the Pacific,
right.
And whenever we got out of the side of the Philippines islands, well, we end up having getting ready to go to Japan. We loaded on a flat bottom boat, and a bulldozer sitting in the front end, and I was assigned with all the equipment. And again, everybody said, Freddie boy, you're going to die on that ship, And so what happened? Harry Truman dropped that first bomb. And the Japanese generals, they want to keep fighting. When he dropped the second bomb, then the little one, Hirohito, whatever his name is, he got in the act, and MacArthur, who said he left the island, waited out, and he said I'd come back
and return.
And that was his part of the world, and so they ended up sitting. And if I'm saying to you is that we sat on the boat, and when they dropped the second bomb, they said, everybody just slow down here. Slow down, let's just wait and see. And then the war, I mean, it was over.
Mm-hmm.
It was over, all except finishing up.
Mm-hmm.
And I had this bad reputation of doing things, and Sam and I did, rather. So the little short colonel came up to us, this is just sidelines, come up to us and said, all right, we could go home. Just a matter of now of getting ready. Said, I'm going to Manila to find out when we can go home and whatnot. Said, I want to come up, and said, I want you two to take care of. Went up there to a warehouse, and it was just full of canned goods. I mean, you never saw so much canned goods in your life. And
now, where was this?
That was in on the Lady.
Okay.
That was where
on Leyte.
Leyte.
In the
That's
Leyte
where
Gulf.
we was loaded to go, and then we didn't go out of Lady.
Right.
And so we went down there to the quartermaster and took a box of this stuff down. They said, are you serious? We don't want that stuff. We got tons, we don't want it. And I said, well, what we going to do with it? He said, just do whatever you want to do with it. And I said, okay. You write me a little note right here on this day that I came to you and talked to you, and you said you didn't want it, and says get rid of it the best way you know how. And then I'll have that. So we went back and got 6 trucks and loaded. First place we went by the little towns, asked who are the head honchos. Every little old community had like a mayor, everyone. So, and he is, and of course, no, we got to have. If we brought 6 truckloads of canned goods of every kind of thing in the world, could y'all unload it? And he said we can unload it. So we took a bulldozer and just loaded that stuff up, took it in there, and so. All I told them, I said, you back off, but you watch and see if they don't steal your spare tire. You keep your spare tire and you stay close around your vehicle. So one little sergeant said to the other sergeant, head sergeant, he said, isn't this sort of a little bit illegal? He said, do you want to go home? He said, sure, I want to go home. He said, well, then keep your damn mouth shut and do what Lieutenant Wolters wants you to do, and we'll get out of here. We go. So he got that cleaned up. We got that cleaned up, and then he come back 2 days later. First place, when he come back, he went down there and looked at it. We took a hose from the motor pool and washed that building down. I mean, washed it down from top to bottom, clean it is, and all you could do is just see a clean, bare floor, and all this other stuff was in it when he got there. So he come back and his face, he little short fat guy, and his face turned red as your shirt, but he didn't say. He looked back and he said, I tell you two, I don't know how you did it, but whatever it is, I don't care. Says, come back in the morning, I've got another job for you. So we ended up having to get with all the armored stuff, like machine guns and this, that, and the other. He said, now here's all this stuff, we got to get rid of it and whatnot. So I passed the word to everybody, if you've got any kind of machinery, you get it out. Guns, trash, any armored stuff, you get it out so we can all get it together. So you said, well, what the hell you want to do that for? Well, we took 5 motor ducks. Mm-hmm. And loaded those boogers down with everything. And then we carried 1 extra duck in case somebody couldn't get back on.
Right.
So we went this as far as we could go, and then we dumped it overboard. And then we come back and got a little bit more. And then same story there. When he came back, he said, Lordy mercy. That's it. And then he said, well, we got to move. We got to move all these tents here up to the nurses area up there, and if we cut down 1 tree, it'll cost us $50. Well, what the hell we do? Sam and I got thoughts. He said, well, Lord have mercy, the tide goes out, and we got that whole beach right there. Let's just get everybody to load up these things on and we had lots of damn trucks and stuff. We loaded them. And we went up the damn beach with that at night. And then we'd have a crew on both ends to unload it. And then got those things off, and then we asked him to come go inspect it. He did. He was a little bit shocked. He didn't ask it. But he saw a tree out of line down there. And I said, well, he said, a tree out of line. I said, well, sir, if you go look, there's a coconut tree there. He said, that's okay. That's okay. There's a coconut tree. So anyway, those are the things that Freddie Wolters and Sam Booker and I went through for all these years. And he's from Alabama. He always called me every Christmas. And he and Sarah, huh?
Every football season.
Yeah, every football season. He's Rabbit Arbor Daggett. And he always called me, and then I want to finish the story on it with him. He called me, and I got ready to go to the hospital. Mickey and I spent lots of times in the hospital, and various things, heart this, that, the other. And last time I think it affected everything I did except my tongue. And I said, if you leave my tongue alone, I'll make it. So anyway, I called him, and I was getting ready to go have this operation. And I called him, he said, Freddie, said, you wouldn't believe it. But said, I am going to the hospital today the same as you are, for the same kind of an operation. And said, I don't really know what this is all about. Well, when they got in there on him, they found an aneurysm about this big around. And they just backed off. Said, look, so we don't know what to do. And of course, Sam was good Baptist. I mean, didn't smoke, drink, nor cuss. And I did the cussing, and he did. Yeah. He said, oh, well, y'all just sort of patch me up a little if you can, and I'll hang around another 4 or 5 years, but if you can't, well, that's okay. Well, when he called me, he said, that's what I'm going to do, the same thing. Well, he died on the operating table.
On the table.
And then I didn't die, but I got along. But
yeah.
That's some of the hairy things that took place with us. It don't make any difference what kind of war you're going to have. You've got to have people that's going to do those things.
Right.
So you say, well, why in the hell you spend all this time? I'm spending this time. If you decided that you want, after all this talking stuff, if you want we can make a call on the hearing aid things, not back in, I got one hearing aid in, and if you decide after thinking about this that you want us to do it, then you sit down where you can see, and then you ask the questions that you know that you're going to get to ask. You asked Freddie, said, you know.
No, I understand. No, I want to tell the story.
Follow what I mean?
Yeah.
You can ask the question, and then you know how I'm going to answer.
Exactly.
And you don't have to ask anything that you don't want to. You just pick them out what you want.
No, that's fine. Now you said that you were in Korea also. Is that right? Were you in Korea?
No.
No, you weren't in Korea. Okay, never mind. I got that confused.
No.
I want to get the chronology right now. You went to A&M in 1940, right?
Yes, sir.
And when did you go into the military?
Well, see, the war came along right at the same time,
right.
you know.
We got involved in 41.
Yeah, I was class of 44,
right.
and a class of 41, 42, and 43. All was commissioned out of A&M, and those boogers called hell.
Right.
Because they went in the service right off.
Right.
The class of 44 was just kicked around in various places. And whenever we got in there, well, we were sent to Camp Wolters to be inducted.
Okay.
And Mineral Wells.
Right.
Well, that's spelled Wolters.
Right.
And I told all the guys, I said, look, you damn guys, have a little respect for me. This is my great-grandfather. I'm a military family.
Did they buy that? Yeah.
So the old sergeant lined them all up and said, all right, now, all of you, get all your bags out there and clean out and give me all the whiskey you got. You just don't have to have. So they all, well, of course, those days, if you had a bottle of whiskey, you'd be fine. So then he picked the smallest amount he could and said, this is what I'm going to do. It poured out. So I just kept mine. And later that after they said, Freddie, why did you get it? Well, wait a minute. Why should I let that damn sergeant drink my whiskey? I said, I'm going to keep it myself, you know. And so those are some of the cutthroat
Right.
type things that you do. And what was your question?
So, well, I just want to get sort of the order of your service. So you went from Mineral Wells. Is that when you went to Seattle after that? Or?
See, after when we got bumped out of the left arm division,
Right.
we were kicked back, and I went to every damn thing you imagine, different things. And I let them know it is I did not want to go in anything submarines. This that I wanted to be on the ground. I was in high field artillery at A&M went out, and I came out in field artillery all these years past. And so we end up then going to Seattle to ship out to go to the European theater.
Right. So it was from Seattle to Hawaii. That was when you got so seasick.
From you left Seattle to go to Hawaii, that was just a holding part for us.
Right.
And we was in Hawaii for 3 months.
3 months. Okay.
And I had a survey crew, and we'd survey in the pineapple field, eat pineapples and everything.
So was this in 1944? Or what date are we talking about now that you sailed from Seattle to Hawaii?
Well, it's somewhere. I had it down here somewhere. The date, somewhere long. See, we was in the A&M in 19 when the 41, 2,
Right.
3.
Uh-huh.
That's what it was all called.
Right.
I was in class of 44.
Right.
And that was the one that was kicked around for a while.
Right.
And came back and see.
But you were called before you graduated, right?
Sir?
You were called before you graduated.
Oh
from
yeah,
A&M.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. In other words,
They took the whole senior class out,
Right.
yeah.
and they had to go to OCS, but
Gotcha.
they were really nearly ready to graduate, but they took them all out. So
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we were all kicked around, and
So you were going to go to Germany, but because of your last name, you didn't go to
That's
Europe.
what he thinks.
That's what he thinks. Okay. So you went to Seattle, you went to Hawaii, you
stayed there 3 months.
You held there for 3 months. And then from there you went to the Philippines, is that right?
That's where we was headed. But
Right.
we went all over the dang country, and we
Right.
talked. You name all the islands
By boat.
by boat.
Yeah.
And everywhere we went, well, they were just airplanes flying, beating up, fighting the Japs, and we ended up heading back to Lady. And when we got back to Lady, that we went up in the hills and set up camp. And of course, you won't have to write this up, but I'm not the ordinary type person.
Yeah, I can tell.
Mickey, I bought a case of good bourbon whiskey. And Sam and I took those. We was in 358 field half track, so split off on a track with a 105 howitzer, and we lowered those things down half track, took off the cosmoline off of them, and just he and I on one of them. And he put 6 bottles of whiskey in every one of those. That's sort of 36 bottles of whiskey in those pieces.
Right.
And Sam said, "Well, Freddie, what are you gonna do if we get?" I said, "Well, hell, some of just find some whiskey." So anyway, we end up in getting that, and my idea was to make some money out of it. And Mickey will tell you that I sent her. Well, first place is every officer got a case of beer and a carton of cigarettes. Well, I didn't smoke. And I didn't drink beer. Even though I'm German, I don't drink beer, still don't drink beer. And so we just gave it away. Well, the next week I found out, what do you give it away for? You can sell it. So every time I look up, I send Mickey a $100 money order. And she had one baby, and she asked me, says, when I got ready to go, she says, how much does an enlisted man get with one child? I said $90.
Right.
She said, you make me out of allotment for $90 and we'll live on it, and you put the rest of it in savings, keep it for us. So that's how that's why we.
Right.
I'm not bragging, but we just independently wealthy right now.
Don't say that.
I'm just telling him the truth.
Well, I don't. Golly mom.
I won't tell people that.
Yeah, he
We're
don't have
both
to-
two
he-
old country kids, and
he
we
don't have
had nothing. My daddy was a farmer.
This-
His was a farmer. He didn't do nothing but drink,
Uh-huh.
quit alcohol, and my family didn't smoke, drink, or curse. And I've been trying to get Freddie to clean up his coffee. He won't do it, but it sounds awful. And I still say, Freddie, you're gonna need to quit that. We've been married 64 years.
Oh my goodness!
Plus.
Wow!
We got 3 daughters and 1 son.
Oh my goodness!
12 grandkids.
Huh?
11 great grandkids.
11 great.
Yeah.
Wow.
They all live out of state.
Is that right?
Except
So when we came back, we started school, and somebody said, "Freddie, you gonna play football?" I said, "Are you kidding?" I said, "My number one job is to do what I was telling. That's finish my agricultural education degree, and so I can be a county agent." And so we got out at midterm, and they had us that old what building, I don't know what it was called now. They had a meeting, and they was talking about. So I held up my eye and said, "Sir, can't you mail this damn thing to us? We don't have to stay here with all this stuff, we don't." And he sort of stammered in a little bit. Somebody organized it and said, "If Freddie Wolters says that's what we need to do, that's what we need to do." So we went home.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't have any graduation exercise.
Yeah.
So I tell everybody that when I got back, as soon as I got back, I got my BS degree. I signed up for master's degree so that I could wear one of those little funny hats across the state. But
so were you? Yeah, I want to go back to in Japan and your service there. What was your job title? I mean, what were you? Were you a artillery gunner? What were you?
No. Where was you?
What was your job title? What did you do actually? What was your main?
When you started from the lady out of the lady?
Yeah.
Well, I was a captain at that time.
Right.
And there was during all this mess. I was an officer.
You were the officer. You had people under you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Tons. And Sam Booker had the motor pool. He had the most of them, and I had a survey crew.
Right.
And so we had just lots of things happen.
Were you involved in some skirmishes and some battles or anything?
No, that's what I tell everybody.
Right.
I tell everybody. I said
Yeah.
I tell everybody,
Yeah,
I said, the
ended.
whole business of the war is getting prepared to get killed.
Right.
And all this write-up about the World War II heroes, some of you see where they bogged through the mud and bogged through the and dug holes, got under tanks and all this, that, and the other. Well, I didn't have that. I had it the other way around. And but I tell everybody that when time comes and I get to heaven, I'm gonna look up Harry Truman, and then the next person is I'm gonna look up my mother, cause she's the greatest person on earth. And then this third person I'm gonna look up is my wife, in that order, and she understands that. She understands that. And my mother was the greatest person ever lived. When I had 2 brothers and 2 sisters, and they was all over, and then they skipped them, and they had Freddie.
That's the reason Freddie was spoiled. He was the baby,
So-
even though they had
so I was the baby.
nothing.
But he's got partiality,
All they
but
did
I'm
was
the
work
only
like
one that got
slaves.
involved in military and all this other stuff.
Right.
All the rest of them. And so when I went up to Fort Sill to go to school to become an officer, let me tell you something. I didn't have any slightest idea that I'd pass it. And I didn't tell anybody. I just going to up to Fort Sill. And where they made a stupid mistake is military they changed some 90-day wonders way back on this 90-day wonder. They changed that total program to 17 weeks, and I had 144 boys that from A&M. and they were stupid enough to put half of them in one and half of them in the other. Well, as soon as that first class went through, they took everything, notes and stuff, and then they passed it right back to the second class.
Mm-hmm.
And if this boy up at the top fouled up, they didn't kick him out, they just dropped him back with those. So we all graduated, and when we got through, it was about 9 o'clock at night, and I called my mother to show you. We just, just didn't know. Called my mother, and I said, Mama, I said, you're talking to Lieutenant Wolters. She said, what? I said, you're talking to Lieutenant Wolters. I am an Army officer now. She said, oh, when are you coming home?
Uh-huh.
I said, I'll be there in a couple of days.
Uh-huh.
Well, anyway, that's how it all worked out. But anyway,
30 years. He retired from reserve officer for
Right.
a long
Right.
time.
So you came back and you finished at A&M.
Yeah, he did.
When I came back, I ended up getting ag eds, like I said,
Mm-hmm.
and I had the World War II come along. They had veterans that's going to school, so I went to Bonham, Fannin County,
Mm-hmm.
to teach veteran in their vet school.
Uh-huh.
And so when we went up there, well then,
Teach him how to farm.
how long we stay up there, Mickey? A couple of years, wasn't it?
Not very long. I don't know. You got.
And then when they came back, then I started back. I'm sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
When I came back, I never dreamed in my stretched imagination that I would be asked to come back to A&M. But the ag teachers group where I had 18 classes, and Mr. Fluhardt and his secretary, they were over it, and I had Dodd Field out there and just a few miles out, and he called me in one day. He said, well, we're going to get a supervisor over those 18 and said, Freddie said, you just too young. Says, some of these boys are way old enough to be your daddy. I said, that's all right, Fluhardt, I'm not going anywhere. My wife just was his second baby? Tim was born. Tim was born. I said, we're not going anywhere. And so it just happened that same day Mr. Alexander called, and so said you want to get Freddie to call him. And so Mr. Fluhardt called me in the next morning and said, Freddie, you suddenly got old enough. We're going to make you you the coordinator over this side. I said, that's not necessary. I already told Mr. Alexander I wasn't interested in having a county ag teacher's job over at Crockett.
Mm-hmm.
I just wasn't interested in it right now. And so we end up coming back to A&M, and immediately time I got back, I started school, and the most important thing is Mickey and I had enough gumption. We thought that's what we should do, and that was stay in the service. In the service. Just didn't dawn on us, And so we stayed in the service and stayed in 30 years. So I retired as a full colonel.
Right.
And as a full colonel, you got TRICARE for life.
Yeah.
And I will tell you that Ronnie Hale at the bank and Stegall and on, all got TRICARE for life because Bookman saw to it they could stay in and summer camp and keep going.
Right.
See, they
And
went every week to a meeting, and then every summer they took a vacation and went to summer camp every week, every 2 weeks in the summertime, and every Thursday during the year.
Right.
So, but didn't ever dream that we was doing it because we thought we should do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a.
No, we really didn't.
Yeah.
We really didn't do it because we thought that. We thought that we'd get something out of it.
No.
We did it because we thought that's what we ought to do.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I'd say sort of patriotic in
Sure.
sort of a
To
way.
stay in.
And
Yeah.
it turned out to be the most blessing you've ever seen in your life.
Sure.
And
Of course, if
I go 3 times a week to the rehab center to take exercise, and down there kills me.
Huh.
But I feel like I've got to have that exercise because there's not a man living that's got enough willpower to exercise or whatever himself. He procrastinate,
Right.
or sit in the chair and go to sleep or whatnot. So, but when you get up there, they post everything.
Now, you didn't let him ask you all the questions. I know Freddie always takes the floor. He all the talking everywhere.
No,
we
that's
go.
okay. I just want to make sure that I understand, where he was, when,
Mickey,
and all that.
I'm doing this on purpose.
How many of the islands can you remember that you were at in Japan, where you went from? I mean, like Corregidor, you were obviously there for that photograph, and
We went when we left Hawaii. We went to all those other places where you're talking about.
Mhm.
And when you got to all those places, well, because I did those things, I was promoted to be the mail clerk, to get off, to go in, and nobody got off. They said quarantine, and you can look out across it. You never saw so many lights and ships in your life. At night, it's just dark as it could be. But when we got in there, had a great big warehouse, mile-long bar. That's all it was, and you drank beer out of a deal. And so they had a skipper from the boat, and our commander, and boy that run the damn thing, and Freddie Wolters is mail clerk.
Mhm.
And so when we got out there, I went in the bar and I bowed and here the great big old red-headed boy said, aren't you from Texas? I said, I sure am. He said, Lordy mercy, I could just read it all over you. So he just kept filling out that can. When I got out, all I had was a can of ice full of whiskey. I carried it back to everybody, and then I'd go back and get some more and go back to the same man. So everybody got tight, and there wasn't any harm in it, particularly, except when that little old boy on a running boat, he irritated a little bit. He turned real quick, and when he did, he just dumped everybody in the water. Everybody went in the water except me. I was weighted down with my duffel bag. And so when I got ready to get on the boat to get up, everybody gave me a hard time, and I pushed my feet against one, and I said, don't y'all wish y'all could be mail clerk. So anyway, let me just tell you something. All my life, here at A&M, I went to work at the bank, not because I asked for it. They asked for me to come join the bank themselves.
At First National?
No, City National.
City National.
Downtown, right. Brian Bookman Peters'
Right,
daddy
right.
Came out to the plantation. I run the. Oh, I didn't even tell you a while ago. Whenever they called me to come back, how I got back to A&M, Jocko Roberts was asked to coordinate all the move from across the railroad track. Gil Gilchrist was then, he's a T-sipper, but he was the one that set it up that they was going to move across the railroad track. And there was nothing on that side of the railroad track but an old dairy and a couple of houses and whatnot. And that was Jocko Roberts' job to coordinate. He said, well, I can't do that. Said, I've got a there, so. I said, well, get your helper. So, well, who did he call? He didn't look for somebody who was real smart, educated. He looked for somebody that would work.
Mm-hmm.
And when he called me, would I come down? And I was at Tyler at that time. They'd put me over 7 counties in the vet program, and they called me and I came down. And when I got ready to leave, I called Mr. Alexander, and I said, Mr. Alexander, I said, I'm glad to be down here and everything, but I said, I'm not going to get the job.
Mm-hmm.
He said, what are you talking about? I said, look, Dr. Lewis always said you was not hire anybody that didn't have a B plus or better. He said, oh, Lordy, don't you worry about that. I'll take care of him. What he don't understand is your job is to do all the peon work, look after all the men, and you do all the stuff it takes to support the research people. That's your job. And that's what I did.
Right.
And I run a 3,200 acre plantation on the other side of River Bridge.
Uh-huh.
And and I could tell you lots of stories about that deal too. But
When did you go to work for City National?
1963.
Okay. And how long were you there?
Till I retired in '85,
86.
Okay.
and then now it's Wells Fargo,
Right.
and my name is still out on the wall, and they still give me a colored card, and
What did you do?
I was an agricultural lending officer, and
Okay.
I loaned money all over the damn country, and I was a good one,
Those Germans are hard-working people.
ma'am.
I
Yeah.
said, those Germans are really hard-working people.
So you were a lending officer for them.
Well, I
For-
just one of the officers there. We had a point. Finally, got everybody. Things changed a little bit. Every while, somebody come along and see. I dealt with people out in the country, and if they called in and you hold or whatnot, they might be on the damn telephone at the filling station or something.
Mm-hmm.
So when they call in, then I always answer my own telephone.
Right.
I take it. So whoever's sitting there with me, they'll understand.
Yeah.
And I said, just a minute, so I'd answer the telephone. Well, then as time went on, Bookman. Marshall Peters came down the plantation, and Mickey and I were involved in everything imaginable. All the ag programs, all the students, all the American Legion,
Chamber of
Lions
Commerce,
Club, you name
the
it.
youth, 4-H
And
kids.
Right.
He's always been real active all around. And, I thought it was fine with me because I felt like he needed to do what he wanted to do and what he thought he ought to do.
Uh-huh.
And so he was real active. Now, I stayed home with kids, the 4 kids, and I did everything anybody could do with 4 kids. If you do everything and no help, you're busy all the time.
Sure.
Because I made all the girls' dresses, all
Yeah.
their clothes, and all their formals, and their evening dresses, their party stuff. And I enjoyed every minute of it. And I thought that's what I was supposed to do, and I enjoyed it. So, I don't feel left out.
No.
I never have worked since
Right.
I've been married. I said, Freddie, I'd rather you'd make a lot less money and be around some than to be an insurance salesman and be gone. And so that's what he did.
Yeah.
And I just stayed here.
But if you-
cooked,
if-
sewed,
but if you
washed,
got
and
out-
ironed like an old country woman.
You know Bookman Peters by chance?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Here a while back, he was in the bank, and he was in his running clothes, exercise clothes, and he was in the main lobby at the Wells Fargo, and he said, "Freddie, come over here and sit down." I said, "I've been wanting to talk to you." So I sat down there, and we visited a good little while, and I said, "I'd be happy to talk to you." And not often your ex-boss would ask you to talk to you, so whoever he was waiting for came and got him. I went upstairs to Paulette to get something done, and when I left, Bookman came back to Paulette and said, "Where's Freddie?" I said, "He's already left." So Bookman's car was down there, and he knew what kind of pickup, and he came down there and knocked on the pickup and said, "Wait a minute, I'm not through talking." I said, "Hey, sit down, we'll talk." But we was awful good at doing the things we needed to do.
Right.
And when I was at the blank, if it needed anything done, they'd call on Freddie Wolters.
Yeah.
And I'd get it done one
Get
way
it
or the
done.
other.
Yeah, I know Bookman. I know Mervyn better than I.
Sir?
I know Mervyn better than Bookman.
Mervyn was
Right.
a freshman in Baylor when I joined the bank in '63. And when I left, when they called me to go to work at the bank, 2 people, I turned Marshall Peters down because I said I can't do it because you have a reputation of buying things and selling. And he said, "Well," I said, "everybody needs good people." I said, "Wait just a minute." I said, "Who you think's good, not the next person. I would be the first thing to cut their head off, and I'd be out of a job. I'm gonna stay with what I've got and know what I'm doing."
Right.
So I stayed at the superintendent of the plantation.
Right.
Good pay, good deal. So Mickey ironed my khaki pants and shirts and everything. He did.
Yeah, I had to
And,
do all that growing up, so I knew how to do it all. Kid. I knew ain't nothing I can't do on the farm.
I'll bet. Tell me about the corregidor picture about that was at muster, right? In April of 45?
That was a sort of a strange thing. You know, when General Moore's on there, they had a muster there before they was run off the island, and that's always been talked about and whatnot. But the corregidor was just a great big hole in the ground, so they made arrangements that to let all the Aggies, wherever they were, whatever Navy, Artillery, Air Force, whatever, get off one day to get to the island the best way they knew how, and get on the island, and that's what we did. We took the picture and had a muster.
Yeah.
And of course, Freddie Wolters is always a little different, you know. And I was up pretty well close to the top, and I didn't that right up as they said Freddie Wolters is a good-looking boy. Well, that wasn't right. I didn't say that, but I said I didn't have a cap on. I just took it off.
Yeah.
Everybody has a cap on it. I just took it off, so I was bareheaded up there with a sign with nobody around. So we stayed there that day, and then we went back to our place of businesses, wherever we were, and that's whenever we were loading to go to whatever areas that we was going to go to.
Yeah, wherever you're going to go next, right?
But that's how that took place.
He thought he was going to Japan, but when Truman dropped the bomb, well, it ended the war, so y'all was just getting ready, not knowing that this was going to happen, of course.
Right.
But
you were preparing to go to Japan for a ground war, just like everybody else was.
That's exactly what was.
All the people who were coming over from Europe.
The only difference in Freddie Wolters and Sam Booker is that we got tangled up with lots of damn things nobody else would do. Willard Flowers. Well, I'm gonna. You got a little more time?
Sure.
You say, what'd you do with that whiskey? We had a dang old hut there for the officers, all thatch roof and stuff, and had an old coconut tree way up there, and so and we all had little old tents, and each one of us, and the women there'd come take your clothes, take it down the creek and wash it, and it would smell bad all, but and I got around to find out I could sell all that beer and whiskey. I told Mickey, I told Sam, I said, Sam, I think it's about time us breaking out that whiskey. And he had a little major, he's bachelor. And he didn't have any family, didn't worry about any family, and a good officer, but he loved to drink. And about the middle of the month, they'd have their beer drank up and everything. So I got him around the time, and I said, how would you like to have a good bottle of bourbon whiskey? He said, Lordy mercy, I don't know. That'd be something else. And he said, why you ask me that? I said, I just want to know if you'd like to have it. And he said, well, yeah, I'd like to have it. I said, well, this what is it worth to you? And he said, well, I don't know. And I said, how would you think about $50? He took a deep breath, and I said, hey, whiskey. He said, that might not be a bad idea. I said, okay, there's Sam. You put your money up here, and I'll let him be the man caretaker, and I'll get the whiskey to you. And we got the whiskey to him, and got 50. Well, can you imagine what $50 in those days?
Sure.
Ton of money. And of course, Mickey got it all as soon as time come. But so he got in that night, and we got it to him on the honor system that he would not tell anybody where he got it.
Mm-hmm.
And he tried his best to keep it. So when he got in the officers club, he's sitting there sipping on that bourbon, If some people got the nose around and said, where in the hell did you get that? And he said, well, I don't know. So they just backed him up on that coconut tree and just poured that old Cebu whiskey down him until he just nearly drowned.
Yeah.
And he finally says, wait just a minute. Said I got it from Lieutenant Wolters. And the next day now, that's how fast everything. The next day we did. Colonel Osby is a full colonel, and he called me into this tent. Mickey and Sam and I both went in there, and fully formal and everything. He said, "That ease," said, "We're under the impression I was told that y'all have access to whiskey." I said, "Sir, I don't know who in the world could have told you that, because nobody knew it, where it come from. It's where you got that information." He said, "Well, so let me just tell you what." He said, "If I had 6 bottles of whiskey, I can go over to the Cebu Island where the Navy has all the supplies. And for 6 bottles of whiskey, I can get enough supplies to build 2 houses, completely furnished with commode and lavatory and everything, and heating system, and you name it, we'd have it. I can get enough ice cream mix that we can put ice cream makers at the end of each one of our deal. We can have ice cream every day, 3 times a day if we want it. We'll get a reefer, rubber-tired reefer out here, and hook it up, and all we got to do is take our boats, our trucks, and go down there and get in line, and when the Navy unloads his boat, we just load it on ours, and then we go down a little way, we turn around, cut back, and come back up here and unload that beef in that thing. But so we eat like kings and queens. But with Archie Willard Flowers was the company commander in one of those units. To this day, till not too awful long ago, I asked him, I said, "Where do you think all that ice cream stuff comes from?" He said, "Lord have mercy, I don't know." He did not know. Nobody knew that. But Colonel ended up getting the weapons. So then he called us in. And he was very formal about it. Didn't know. He called us in and says, "How would y'all like to be seasick, airsick?" I guess same deal. He said, "How'd y'all like to be forward observers?" And I said, "Oh, sir," I said, I couldn't pull that. I'm too heavy." He said, "Lieutenant Wolters, I can handle the weight." And he said, "It only pays $72 a month more money." Well, I said, "Well, I suddenly got light in a hurry." So 2 days later, the Cole was in our outfit. He got killed. And that dampened that deal. And we all had to divide up all of his supplies. And I got his sleeping bag that's made with down thread. And I had kept that for years. And I went on the saltgrass trail here, riding back with kids and stuff. Slept that, boy, you never saw such a thing in your life. But that's how we got that deal going.
Yeah.
Now, you asked me something.
So did you become a forward observer?
No,
okay.
No, after that, that ended it.
That ended it.
That
okay.
ended. Thank God, I didn't have to do it.
Well, tell me about your family. You all have 4 children, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And where they're scattered out with their families and everything?
Well, Mickey's a little bit modest, and she hates to brag on them, but we got 4 kids, 5 kids.
We have 3 daughters and 1 son.
Yeah, 3 daughters and 1 son.
12 grandkids and 1 great-grandkids. You know that.
We were all on the plantation. Mickey hauled them back and forth, every kind of, and hauled them back and
Now
forth.
it's such a busy street.
And they all went.
5 more.
When I left, I didn't stay at the A&M plantation forever. Dean Shepson became over the plantation. At the time we had over it, had a guy named Aiken that run the big farm, and Jocko Roberts and I was looking after it. Jocko Roberts would come down there about 10 minutes before 12 and look around a little bit, and he'd leave. You know, I did all the dirt, so so they head up back on their family.
Yeah.
Well, 2 of them finished A&M, and 2 of the girls finished in Houston University.
Yeah, what I was trying to think, tell them, all the girls went to A&M, and they all had to take elementary education at my instruction. You either take elementary education, you get your money from somewhere else. Because I said, if you end up marrying some old sorry damn guy that won't feed you, you can always get a school teaching job, and
Right.
you may not live high, but you stay. And all three of them has used that elementary education to the nth degree.
Wow.
Homeschooling their kids and you name it.
Right.
And
Then our son's in middle, and he's
we
a
got two
banker.
granddaughters that's getting out of school, and they all got different degrees, and every one of them is switching over to get a elementary education
Right.
because it's the name of the game.
Yeah.
And the boy, sort of an odd kind of deal. He majored in animal science, and
This is Tim.
Tim,
Uh-huh.
he majored in animal
He's
science.
60 years old now.
Uh-huh.
Huh?
He's 60 years old now.
He majored in animal science, and he's down on plantation. He come in one day and told his mother, said, "Mama," said, I'm going out football."
That's when he was in 7th grade.
Yeah.
So she told me he going. I said, "Hell far, Mickey. He's done Mickey's a minute." And I said, "Mr. Jones is a freshman football coach, Edsel Jones." And I said, he'll kill him. He'll kill him. And he told us, so I called him in and I said, "Well, now let me tell you something. If you think you're not big enough to play football, but if you think that's what you want to do, let me tell you one thing, you're not quitting.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to stay there if he kills you." Well, he came, he said, "Well, I'm on." So the first week, he came over to Mama, "Tell him, Mickey."
Yeah. And I would have let him, you know how mothers are.
Right.
But what?
So he said, "Who you want to face, Mr. Jones or your daddy?" He said, "Well, I'll go back." Well, anyway, he turned out to be a whale of a good football player. And Edsel Jones moved up to be varsity coach. And Tim was a halfback and end on end and halfback on defense.
Where was this at
Consolidated.
Consolidated?
And
Or-
Consolidated.
yeah. Uh-huh.
And the way we did that is that when I got the job, I said, "I'm going to bring my kids all over to A&M school."
Uh-huh.
And Taylor Reel was superintendent of school, and I
Right.
talked to Taylor, and I want him, he said, "Oh, Freddie, bring your kids on over here." Said, "You can go, I don't charge you in tuition." You know,
Uh-huh.
I had friends, things,
We
you
were
know.
classmates. Too.
Huh?
Y'all were classmates, weren't you?
Yeah, we were classmates
Yeah.
in school.
Classmates.
Taylor was on the show.
Huh?
Taylor was on my show.
Oh,
Yeah.
good. Well, I
Yeah, he
missed
was
that
on the
one.
veteran show.
Oh, yeah. Well, I missed that.
Yeah.
Norton. Yeah.
Yeah, he was on the show.
They end up being over at Rockdale,
That was
and they had an old boy named Min, and he was big and tough, and right before the half, he come around and just got by everybody. Tim was a halfback, and I said, "For goodness sakes, Tim, fall down, fall down." But he tackled him head on. Well, when he got up, he sort of, the half was up, and he sort of staggered a little bit. So I watched him, and so I went into the restroom, and he's sitting over by himself. And I said, "Coach, you better check that boy." I said, he's knocked out. So they sent him to the hospital there, and they said, "Come on home." So we brought him home, and I put him in the old San Joseph hospital down there. And way up in the night, I was sitting right there waiting out with him. He woke up, he looked around, and he says, "Where am I?" I said, "You're in the hospital." He said, "What am I doing here?" I said, "Well, why didn't you fall down when you tackled that old boy the other day?"
Yeah.
So anyway, he stayed but never got around to it. When he got out, all this stuff, he wanted to be a banker.
Uh-huh.
And he came to me, and of course I was pretty well known. He said, "Daddy," said, "I want to be a banker." I said, "Are you crazy?" I said, "Who in the world you think would want to hire an ag major to be a banker?" I said, "If you wanted to be a banker, why didn't you say so, and we could switch over to at least some other courses and stuff you have." He said, I still want to be a banker." So Homer Stewart up in the Republic Bank was
in Dallas. Yeah.
had come down to our bank and worked there for a while, and he went back. And I told Bookman when he came, I said, "He won't stay because you can't come from a Republic Bank up there, must have been 15, 20, 30 feet stories high, come down in a 2-story building and be happy. And sure enough, he went back up there heading their installment lending department. So I called him and told him, I said, I got a problem. He said, well, Freddie said there's one job he can have. There's one job he's have, and said that's a collector. The sorest job it is anywhere. You just get man off the street to be a collector.
Yeah.
And he said to him, I said, well, no. Let him call you. Let him call you and ask you about it. And then when you get him up there, well, you talk to him about you tell him sort of what you ought to. And then it'll be his working. So when he come back to the house, I said, now let me give you some advice. When you go out to collect, somebody is gonna sign a $50,000 note with somebody that is a friend, and he hadn't paid it. He's sort of waiting around. He got the money and everything, waiting around. And you go. So when you go, the last thing you got to tell people that you got to ask them when are you gonna pay it? They're not gonna like that. They're not gonna like it. And if you're down with a little peon, just report to your own boss. If you're not, report the next step. But if it's higher than that, you report it to higher. Mm-hmm. So he had one guy had a note for $50,000, and Tim got around to him. He told him, well, sir, said I understand what all you're saying, but what I've got to find out when are you gonna pay it? Well, that frustrated him. He got unhappy, and didn't stay talking. And so when I went back to Tim, I said, okay, here's the level you got to go. You got to go all the way to the chairman, all the way to the public. And I'm trying to think, golly, I can't take what his name was now. But you tell him, get your people to report it right on up the way. So when he called him, sure enough, he called the president of the bank and told him, said, the kid's out here collecting. He said, was he insulting? Oh, no. Said, well, did he say anything wrong? He said, no, finest young man I ever saw. He said, what's the problem? He said, well, when he got through, he wanted to know when was I going to pay it. He said, well, Sam, that's the Republic. He said, now, Sam, when are you going to pay it? And that kept the Tim end up at the Republic having the largest collected deal of anybody in the history of the Republic Bank.
Wow. All
because of following instructions and having enough guts to do what he was told to do.
Right.
And then he came back here to A&M and started what did he came back to do, started doing after he left. But he went to banking over Tyler.
Uh-huh.
And anyway, he stayed in the banking field.
Yeah. Have you got I know you got the article that Mr. Youngkin did. I looked for that on the internet, but I couldn't find it. So I'd like to borrow it and give it back to you on Thursday. Do you have any other photographs or anything like that? Like maybe the photograph that Bill Youngkin used or anything like that I can...
We got some. I had some.
What were you looking for, a young picture or an old picture?
Well, I'm looking for a young picture. Like maybe that picture that was used in Youngkin's deal.
This
Ambassador of Goodwill, okay.
This is
International Association of Lions Clubs Ambassador of Goodwill Award.
Here's another one. Let's see. This one says something. Freddie works his heart out when he does something.
With the Lions, yeah.
This is same article you had before, but there's what Mickey looked like when I married her.
Oh, all right.
And this was Freddie right here.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, there's the...
Now,
is that good enough for you?
Do you have the original of this anywhere where you can? Do you know where that is?
Yeah, I do. It's in the living room.
now look.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That would actually do better.
All right.
Uh huh.
District Governor. That's when I was District Governor, 73, 74.
Right.
Lions District Governor. Now here's the picture you talk about corregidor.
Right.
There's the one with mustard.
Right.
Corregidor. And there's
1945. You know which one you are?
bareheaded.
It's so dark.
Right there.
Right there. What? Right there.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that was the same picture that they see. That's on all the maps and stuff that comes out
Right.
now on the literature and stuff.
That
Yeah.
was in a little booklet, and when we moved from Bryan to here, it got lost.
Uh-huh.
And I was just sick about it.
This is what I'd like to borrow and give back to you on Thursday. May I take
right,
this off
sure.
the wall?
Yeah, you can.
Because I want to scan it.
Yeah,
shit,
okay.
And
You mean to wrap it in a towel or something?
I want to make sure that I've got the right.
Now, wait,
Is he
before
saying
you-
this is him? He is right there,
I can see it. Wait just,
right between the two guys with hats on,
wait
right?
just a minute.
The guy with no hat. That's what he's
Is
saying,
that
right?
the
No hat.
one? Yeah,
Yeah.
I know he's right in here somewhere.
Yeah, with no
No
hat.
hat, Nikki.
Yeah.
The whole one didn't have a hat.
You're right in the middle of four guys that all have hats on,
Yeah,
right
that's
there.
it.
That's you. Okay, gotcha. No, I can see.
I want to show you something else. Here's why I've got bragging. See,
Uh-huh.
Texas Line Hall of Fame.
Wow.
That's that. Now here's the one that got the BS degree in agricultural education.
Uh-huh.
And now this is where I got the master's degree up here, and that's why I wear a little funny hat.
Yeah.
I never wore one of those
And
hats.
these are some
Masters
awards
and-
that I have.
Yeah, and ag.
And you can have anything in here you want.
No, but I'll do what we'll talk about the Lions Club.
Yeah, okay.
About your
Yeah, well,
participation in that.
oh, he just, you know, it was all
But if,
volunteer work.
Oh yeah,
But,
sure.
but he just loved it and really put his heart and soul.
Right.
The living room is back here in the back.
Okay.
These are living
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Can I borrow this and I'll give this
you
back
want the
to
whole
you?
thing, or you,
Yeah, I'll just take the whole
it out.
thing so that we won't take it out of the.
Yeah.
So I
okay.
can just return this to
Yeah.
you.
when
That'll
we,
be good.
when we were in school, they wasn't.
Oh, that's your A and
We
M.
didn't have boots.
Uh huh.
They cut the boots all out.
Right.
Didn't have boots, and so that was when I was a senior. And now here's a picture of Mickey and I at the church not too awful long ago.
Uh huh.
Here's Freddie in high school. Okay.
All right. Look at there. Most popular boy
Yeah, in Denton High.
at Denton High
We
School.
both finished high school in Denton.
I like that picture.
When they came up, to
Can I borrow this and scan
Yeah,
this
you
too?
can.
I'll
Don't lose it.
I'll return all this to you on Thursday.
Well, I
let
believe
let
you.
me tell you
Yeah.
what happened on that. See, I was such a damn country boy. I didn't know. So
He was a country kid, and I was
Emma
too.
King came to me and said she was sort of head editor.
Oh, she was a
said,
high class
she
kid.
said, she said, Freddie said, would you like to run for? I don't know what else. I said, who all votes on them?
Uh huh.
She said, well, the senior favorite, just the senior. But I said, if she gets a whole deal, I will take the whole deal because everybody vote for me.
Right.
And then so I was
Whatever that picture said, I don't know.
Most popular boy.
most popular boy,
Yeah.
and
See, this is our son's daughter, and
Uh-huh.
she's an eye doctor now.
Oh, okay. Where do they live?
They live up around Dallas.
I
She
see.
finished school up there, and they gave her such a good deal. She said, "I can't leave it because," and she's beautiful and she's sweet as ice cream.
Oh, she's gorgeous. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I love her to pieces.
we got
Yeah.
That's me in high school.
Uh huh.
that's our oldest girl right up there,
That's Pam.
and
She's
that's,
62 now.
Right.
We got as good a family as anybody existing, and here's Mickey.
Probably, I don't.
Uh huh.
Oh well.
I like the hairdo. That's good.
Oh yeah, I did it myself. And
Yeah.
I had hair then. I have
Right.
I don't have much now. But
I
you
want a
know,
picture of Mickey. This is a pretty recent picture, right?
Yeah, fairly.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna borrow this and scan it too. So I won't
got
drop
some
it.
bags.
Okay. Well, that's fine too.
Well, I want to show you.
That's
Come
fine
here.
too. Show me more.
We're going to torture you. This is our. That's our son Tim when he finished A&M.
Right.
He's lost his hair now.
Oh yeah. Well, I know how that is. Yeah.
And that's
Now,
our
if you're-
youngest daughter.
this
Right.
is
That's
this
our
is,
oldest daughter, and that's our middle daughter.
And who's this? Is this?
Oh, that's our oldest daughter.
That's your oldest daughter.
Yeah.
Oh, isn't she pretty? I get
Yeah,
it.
our girls were.
Oh,
yeah.
They were really blessed.
This is
We were
only.
blessed.
What's
The
that?
only this is the colonel that comes all the time about us going here and see, look, he's drinking beer, and I
Uh-huh.
had it right that, and then he's the one that got us doing all these chores.
I see.
Colonel Connor,
And that's you right there.
that's me.
Okay. Well, good. I want a good action picture like this of you in the. So this was when you all were
That was
in the Pacific somewhere.
That was in that's
in the
where
Philippines.
where we were over there just before we got to get ready to come home.
Come home. Yeah.
Anyway,
I'll probably bring all these.
what I'm going to tell you, I don't know what are you going to do it or how you want to do it, but I'm not going to have 2 hearing aids. But if you'll sit where I can see your lips,
Yep.
and you can then you got a good strong voice.
Right.
You talk, I can hear you and I can understand you.
Well, we'll be about the same distance apart that we were in there.
Okay.
Maybe a little farther apart, but I'll be sure and speak up.
Okay, and
I will be on this side of you, which won't be the
if
same.
you be on the side where I could, this hearing aid will be on that side, and I can read your lips.
Okay, so you will have some sort of hearing aid.
Oh, I got one. Right.
Oh, you've got one in right now.
Damn thing costs a fortune.
I see. Okay.
I mean, it's
Right.
one of those expensive.
And if I
things.
need to repeat something, that's fine. You just
It's
say what you say, and I'll.
It's one of those digital kind of deal. $1,800 a piece.
Right.
Damn things, and
Wow.
all I got left is this one, and he got a mold made for the other one, and he had to send it over. He put a white deal in there to get one like this,
Right.
and
So,
here,
yeah. So you have one normally in both ears.
sir.
You have one normally in both ears.
Yes,
right?
sir. Yes, sir. And that's
Okay.
what I lost it down to the pasture,
I see.
and I never could ever heard. Just like I had a cell phone, I lost it down to the pasture. I'm
Right.
always losing stuff.
Where was the plantation exactly? Was it out near Snook or was it?
Oh, you know,
How far out was it?
when you cross the river bridge,
Right. The
Cross
Brazos
the
River
river
Bridge.
bridge.
Uh-huh.
the land immediately there, all the way back, is the plantation.
Okay.
Now it's changed a whole lot now. When you go down there a little bit to land, they got a bunch of buildings and stuff in there. But when I was down there was nothing but land all the way across that thing.
Mhm.
And when you go down and turn left, like you're going to the backside, they had some big elevators and stuff there, and that's where we lived, in a big old 2-story house. I wish we had a picture of this 2-story house, but they moved that off down to.
So it's on 60 beyond the bridge before you get to Highway 50, which, yeah.
Well, if you go across the river bridge
Uh-huh.
and you go right on down, and when you get to the crossroads, you turn left,
Uh-huh.
and you'll come back into it down there, and it's
I
still
see.
got lots of buildings and stuff.
I see.
there.
So it's down there. Okay.
That's a big place.
Yeah.
When I run the plantation,
Uh-huh.
I laughed and told everybody that when I crossed the river bridge coming back this way,
Mm-hmm.
that I was a peon.
Mm-hmm.
But when I crossed the river bridge going back way, I was king.
Uh-huh.
And it's got a world. The world is you're looking at him.
Yeah.
When I was up in
There
Denton
he is,
up there,
an old man, but still not crippled yet.
Uh-huh.
is that? Yeah, that's
You look like a banker.
yeah. That's,
You got that banker look about you.
Yeah.
when I was up, when we left Louisville, went up there, 32. We were in bad shape,
Right.
and we went up there to a federal land bank repossessed place, and it had a beautiful land right down close to the creek, and a big house, pretty damn big house, a red barn, running water, big water trough, and a peach orchard right in the center corner, and then a cattle guard. So when we got there, we left Louisville. I drove 2 mules to the front of the wagon and 2 mules behind it with a big old hay frame with sacks of ground feed on it loaded down, and then I had a rocking chair up on top that I sat in.
Uh-huh.
So when we got down through Denton Bell Avenue, and we came right down through it, and we were 7 miles north on Sherman Drive. And when they got by there, I got a home, and I told them, in those days, he said, well, how we had good equipment, but all the people other that helped move the stuff, and I
Right.
had to take the mules.
Right.
And when we got out there, we got out, and I told my mother, I said, I'm so stinking mad. She said, what's the matter, Freddie? I said, when I come to those little old girls going across their CIA with their tennis coat rackets on, and they just died laughing
Uh-huh.
at me. She said, well, Freddie, why don't you look back up on him? And the rocking chair was just, when I got off, I just sort of got off and pushed it off. And it just,
TWU.
Yeah.
It's TW. No, it's TSCW. It
Huh?
was TSCW. Now it's TWU.
TWU.
Why don't you take
Yeah.
back this picture? You start with your story.
Okay.
That's been in magazines and around. It's a round barn up in Denton County. And my dad's sister was an artist, and she painted it. It's watercolors.
Yeah.
And it's real old, but it's been kind of redone. That's not exactly, but it is round.
Right.
And it's just kind of interesting because it's been in magazines and stuff. Texas magazine. Yeah. I've seen it.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah. So this is.
But anyway, back he's. You're not gonna give me.
I'm sorry, I don't have lunch. But we
No,
we
that's
took
fine.
all of our taxi in this morning.
Uh-oh.
Freddie come back and forgot.
Half of them, and so for every time we got $1, each one of them got a quarter, and so each one of them got somewhere around $26,000.
Wow.
All of them blew it in except the boy, and he used it to build a house. And Mickey and I Mickey said, Freddie said, this may not ever come again, said we just don't use a bit of it. So we put it all in savings.
Good.
And when this house came available, I had $160,000 available.
Right.
Available. And we offered cash for the thing, and they turned it down, but then they ended up coming back and
saying okay.
Yeah, it's arranged so goofy. I had backed out actually, but they said, when can we close? And Freddie said, we can close right now. And so he'd already committed in saying that. Or we would have backed out.
Mickey didn't like it.
I don't like the arrangement of it.
We lived 37 years in a house close to the church up there in town.
Right across from Lamar.
Oh, okay.
Right behind where Lester's used to be.
Yeah, off of Villa Maria.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I remember.